James fires a three. Bang! It's an outside of Kobe. Takes it to midcourt. Kobe. Bryant for the win. Bang!
Welcome back to the Double Trouble Podcast. It's been a very long time since I recorded before the Super Bowl. I've just been chilling, and I just really haven't found the time to record this. But I think I'm back on track, and I'm trying to get back on the weekly schedule. So we are back, and I am posting today on a Monday, on a Tuesday actually. And the show's not normally on a Tuesday, but I just feel like, I haven't recorded in so long, and I just really wanted to record today. Plus, there's a bunch of news in the NBA, there's a bunch of news in the NFL, and, I think it's a good day to record. So, we have a lot of things to talk about today. The NFL offseason is kicking off. The NBA season is progressing quite well. The COVID problems that started the season, they're still here, but they're calming down. They're not as crazy as they were to begin the season. So, this shouldn't be that long of an episode, but I got some things I want to talk about. And, so to start, we're going to go to, like we always do, we're going to start with the NBA part. And Saddiq Bey, who I want to talk about. Saddiq Bey from Villanova, a forward, and he won Player of the Week last week, that's quite insane for a rookie to win Player of the Week. Doesn't happen much. Nevertheless, the 90th pick of the draft, Saddiq Bey, and a guy that barely starts to win Player of the Week in the Eastern Conference. He's winning that over guys like James Harden, guys like Joel Embiid. So, congratulations to Saddiq Bey. And the Pistons really, that was a good pick. I always liked Saddiq Bey. And I want to talk about the 2020 draft class right now. And I want to talk about the rookies right now, because there are a lot of rookies that are exceeding my expectations. Many people said this draft class doesn't have a premier star, but we are seeing a lot of good players come out of this 2020 draft class right now. The rookie of the year right now, in my eyes, is LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball has been incredible for Charlotte. But I would say Tyrese Halliburton is not far behind him. I would say he's close, and I would say you can make a case for him. LaMelo is probably a top 15 point guard. I would say Tyrese Halliburton is that far behind him. I love how Tyrese Halliburton has played this season. He complements very well off the ball. He's very good defensively. He plays with De'Aaron Fox very well. And I don't think he's the rookie of the year. I think it's LaMelo. But he is putting up a good fight. And I just like to see the rookie class. A bunch of guys that you could give the award, and a bunch of guys that are really fighting for the award. This year where it was clearly Ja, because Zion didn't play much. But then the next guy was Brandon Clark and Kendrick Nunn. So, it's just fun. And there's a bunch of other guys in the rookie class. Saddiq Bey, like I said, Immanuel Quickley. Immanuel Quickley was a great pick for New York. I wanted New York to get him. I was excited when New York traded up, because I knew I wanted New York to take Denny with the 7th pick. I wasn't ever with the 9th pick, my bad. I wasn't ever a fan of taking Obi there, because you already had Julius Randle. And now, Obi's career is going to be weird, because it looked like the Knicks will extend Julius Randle. I mean, they should. Julius Randle's playing very good right now, so. But it's just weird. There's not really a path, I would say, for Obi to succeed, because he's playing behind Julius Randle, and there's a bunch of forwards and centers getting minutes over him. So I don't think Obi, I'm not going to give up on him after his rookie season. But the Knicks have to make moves to give Obi the space to succeed and the tools to succeed. And right now he doesn't have that. But Quickley is great. He's great scoring the ball. I have no problem with Quickley coming off the bench. I don't think Quickley is really built to be a starter. I think he is a bench plug, a bench spark that's going to come in. He's going to give you 15 and 17 off the bench. I saw a lot of comparisons to Lou Williams, who was his childhood idol, and I think that's a great comparison for Immanuel Quickley. He can shoot the three. His floater game is terrific. One of the best floater games in the league. He can score over the bigger man. He can score off the best of them. And I'm very excited for Emmanuel Quickly's future. I love watching him play, and I think that is a steal of the draft. And many people thought he was a steal of the draft during the draft, but I didn't really know. I believed in him, and I thought it was a good pick. But yeah, the steal of the draft, he's definitely in contention. And then also Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony was a great pick at 15 for the Magic. He's had some bright spots this season. He's a good playmaker, a pretty good scorer, and I just like the spark and flame he brings to a team like the Orlando Magic, a team that doesn't really have an identity yet. And I think Cole Anthony can help them find their identity. And yeah, there's just a lot of good players in this draft. I think there's a clear superstar in this draft, LaMelo Ball, but then, and maybe a great player in this draft in Tyrese Halliburton, and then there's a bunch of good, solid, 15-point scorers that you just like to see, man, that you're just excited about. So I think the 2020 draft is looking and is shaping up to be a pretty good draft class right now. Obviously, we're only about 25 games in, so stuff can change, but right now, it's looking up. And I don't want to spend too much time on this section, but the G League did start up a few days ago, and there's a little bright spot. Kevin Porter Jr. is a bright spot in the G League. He's balling out for Houston right now in their G League affiliate, and I'm just glad he's on the court, man. As a Cavaliers fan, I wasn't upset when we got rid of Kevin Porter Jr. I just felt like it was time to move on. He's got a lot of issues, and I still wish the best for him because I still think he's very skilled and can be a very good basketball player. But it was just time for us to move on from him, for us to go a different direction. And he's coming in to Houston. He's playing great for their G League team. I don't know when he's gonna get back on the regular roster. Maybe if some COVID issues come up, he'll be able to fill in there. But I don't know when he'll get there. But right now he's balling out in the G League, and it's just good to see him doing well, playing well, being successful. Jeremy Lin also in the G League for Golden State, and I was watching the Golden State G League affiliate versus the Ignite squad, and the Ignite squad are fun to watch, man. Jonathan Kuminga, Jalen Green, guys like they're just very fun to watch. And the 2021 draft class, we were just talking about the 2020 draft class. I haven't really read up on a lot of those guys, but from what I've heard and what I've seen, that's going to be a very good class, probably better than the 2020 draft class is. And it's just exciting, man, to be an NBA fan right now. The future's looking bright. The current NBA is pretty good, and it's just a good time to be an NBA fan. It's a good time to watch basketball. It's a lot to be happy about in the basketball world. So, yeah, talking about the G League 2021 draft class. And then we're going to move on to current NBA. The Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz, you're going to see a lot of different opinions about the Utah Jazz. But here's my thing. I think they're a good team. They're a good team. Donovan Mitchell is great. Rudy Gobert is great. But despite what some people will say, don't let anyone twist it. If you watch the Jazz play, you will see Rudy Gobert's impact. On the stat sheet, he may put up 15 points. He may allow the other center to score 40 points. But if you watch the Utah Jazz play, you will notice that Rudy Gobert is good at basketball. Despite what Shaq will say, despite what people on Twitter will say, I don't really agree with the disrespect from Rudy Gobert. Because if you watch the Utah Jazz play, you can see Rudy Gobert is great. So, with that said, Rudy Gobert is great. Donovan Mitchell is great. Bogdanovich is really good. And they just have they have two great players and a lot of good players mixed with really good players, of good coaching. And yeah, and it just makes for a good basketball product. So, and that's what the Utah Jazz have been this season. They have been a good basketball product. They're going out there, they're hitting their shots, they're playing really good defense, and they're playing hard. That's what you love to see about the Utah Jazz. So they've had some really good wins, and it's hard to predict 25 games this season. Okay, this team's going to be contending. This team's going to win the championship. The Utah Jazz are good. I don't want to deny that, and I don't want to take anything away from them. Like 30 games in, they're good. And right now, I still wouldn't have them beating the Lakers, the Clippers in a playoff series. But I don't want to take away from the Jazz. I just want to, give credit where credit is due. Right now, they're playing very good. And you can make predictions down the line, but we're only 30 games in. And right now, the Utah Jazz are the best team in basketball. Will they go on with this? Will they keep this momentum going in the playoffs? That's a lot of things that's hard to predict. But right now, you have to give credit where credit is due. The Utah Jazz are the best team in basketball. They are very good. They're good coach. They play with a lot of intensity, and they're fun to watch. There was a clip of Donovan Mitchell. We got the ball to Bogdanovich. It was just beautiful ball movement. It's literally basketball 101. And yeah, that's what you love about the Utah Jazz, and that's why they've been very good. And I hope they continue, because I want to see this team do well. They've been losing in the first or second round for some years now. So I want to see them do well, and I hope they continue this hot streak. I want to talk about news that has been coming out, because it is trade season. We are near the trade deadline, and this is the time that buyouts come, trades come, releases come. So we have had two big, besides the Derrick Rose trade, we've had two big news so far. We have Andre Drummond. So Andre Drummond won't play. The Cavs are going to hold him out. He's just going to sit there. He's going to be with the team, but he's not going to practice or play with the team until the Cavs can find a trade partner, right? And that's whatever. You've seen this before. Andre Drummond, we knew we would be getting traded, but after the Cavs, I think we've lost like 9, 8 in a row. So it's just going to be like, okay, we're just going to do the full thing, go younger. I don't know if we're going to be able to trade Kevin Love by the deadline, because he's not healthy right now, but they're going to trade Andre Drummond, commit to this rebuild and try to get a good draft pick, because we're just not doing good right now. So, the Raptors, they were in talks with the Cavaliers, and many people thought it was a done deal, and it was like, no, Sham just posted the Raptors are in talks with the Cavs in trade. I don't know how people flip that into, okay, Andre Drummond's going to the Raptors. But no, that's not a done deal yet. There's nothing serious with the Cavs trade talks. They've just been talking to teams. So they have suitors, which means a buyout isn't likely. Sorry, Nets fans. So that's all we know right now. And, I'm happy about this as a Cavs fan. I've wanted Andre Drummond to be traded since the beginning of the season, because, especially after we traded for Jared Allen. At the beginning of the season, he was playing really well, defensively and offensively. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to extend this guy. But we traded for Jared Allen. We committed to Jared Allen as the future of our center position. And now Andre Drummond is just left on the outs. So, I think Toronto, that would be good for Toronto. Andre Drummond is a good defender. Offensively, he has a lot of problems. But it depends on how he's coached. If you just coach Andre Drummond to commit to pick and rolls, post offense, not to do anything he shouldn't be doing, then he could be decent. But offensively, his offensive game needs a lot of work. I see him missing layups, missing offensive rebounds, grabbing an offensive rebound and the ball goes out of bounds. Like, it's just dumb stuff that just shouldn't happen. So I can see Andre Drummond is a very polarizing player, but there's one thing you can't deny about Andre Drummond, and it's his defensive impact. He's a good defensive basketball player. So him to Toronto would be pretty good. Him to Boston, if I was Boston, that's what I would be trying to do. I would be trying to get Andre Drummond, because their center position struggles, but Andre Drummond, they don't have that's Boston's whole problem. They can't guard Bam, they can't guard Joel Embiid. It's just barbecue chicken. Now, Andre Drummond's not going to lock up Joel Embiid or Bam at a buyout. I hope people don't get that twisted. But Andre Drummond is serviceable. Bam's not gonna drop 40 on him like he was in the playoffs. Bam's not gonna go that crazy like he was doing in last year's playoffs. He's gonna be serviceable. He's gonna be manageable, and he's gonna go out there and try. And that's why I think he would be great for Boston. And Boston they have that big trade exception from the Gordon Hayward trade. So they have the cap, they can open it up, and they can include some of the younger pieces in there, and they can make that trade for Andre Drummond. And I think that would be good for Boston. Boston and Toronto are two teams that could make that move, and it would be good for them. Now, there's a bunch of others that could use. I think those are the two prevalent. Those are like the biggest teams that could use him, and I think. And Andre Drummond doesn't have to go to a team where he has to start. He can go to the Warriors, who don't have a lot of center depth off the bench. He can play good for them off the bench. If Andre Drummond will take the role of going to the bench, then that opens up a whole another box of suitors for Andre Drummond. But yeah, I think Celtics Raptors, two biggest teams for Drummond, but I could see him going anywhere as long as he's fine with coming off the bench. Now, here's the last thing I'll talk about for the NBA part today. Another group of news we got. Blake Griffin. He will not play for the Pistons. He will be inactive as they are trying to figure out his future, whether it is a buyout, a release, or a trade. Now, Blake Griffin is quite polarizing as he hasn't been good. He hasn't been good in 2 years, really. He's been healthy this year, but he just hasn't been good. He hasn't played with the same intensity. He hasn't dunked a ball in 2 years. I thought this was a joking stat I heard, but he hasn't dunked the ball in 2 years, and that's just, it's crazy. He's lost all his athleticism, and he's no longer the athletic Blake Griffin. He's more of a spot-up shooter, mid-range, and he's just not even that good at it. And if he was paid a lot less money, having Blake Griffin wouldn't be a problem. But he's severely overpaid, and I don't think there's a trade market for Blake Griffin at this moment. So I would think he's gonna get bought out, and then a buyout for Blake Griffin would cost Detroit a lot of money, but it is probably the smart move. Now, if he does get bought out, I think the Phoenix Suns, reuniting him with Chris Paul is when he was at his best, and you can sign him to a smaller deal. He doesn't have to be on that max, and whether he's gonna come off the bench or start for guys like Jay Crowder, that Chris Paul Blake Griffin pick and roll can still be good, because Chris Paul can make any player good off the pick and roll, and he's gonna make Blake Griffin better, like he did in Philly, not in Philly, and on the Clippers. And I think that's the best landing spot for Blake Griffin. There's a bunch of other teams, Orlando. There's a bunch of other teams that could probably use him. Just like Andre Drummond, is either a starter or off the bench. But I think the Suns, they shouldn't want to give up a valuable piece for Blake. I think the only way of the Pistons is a buyout, because I don't think there's a trade market for him. I just don't know what you would be willing to give up for Blake Griffin with that big of a contract. He doesn't really bring that much to the table that would be worth it. So, I wish the best for him. I hope he does get on the team where he can go and win a championship, but I just don't know. Now we transition to the NFL portion of the Double Trouble podcast. It's not gonna be that long of a portion. The Super Bowl was about 3 weeks ago. I don't know what I could say that you didn't already know. The Buccaneers defense is great. The Buccaneers played great. The Chiefs did not play well. I'm not gonna go up in 10 minutes and just talk about a game that was 2 weeks ago. You've watched a bunch of other podcasts talk about Super Bowl, but there's two big news that came out throughout the past few days. JJ Watt was released from Houston, and because I guess they wanted to let him pick his next destination after they mutually agreed to move on with the Deshaun Watson news. Houston is just basically a mess. They don't really have a direction, and so the decision for them is to go and release JJ Watt because they couldn't really find a viable trade partner, and they wanted to let him choose his own destination, which is fine. But I think people are getting it twisted about JJ Watt. People are like, this is not that big of news. He's kind of washed. JJ Watt, at the end of the day, is still JJ Watt. He's still going to come. He's going to make a big impact on your defense. He's still going to get sacks. He's still going to force incompletions, force fumbles. that is a big player to have for not his release. You're not even going to have to pay him that much. So I think there's a lot of teams coming up, and I don't really know a perfect team. JJ Watt, the Patriots. The Patriots already have a pretty good defense with Gilmore, and if they do figure out their quarterback position better, JJ Watt would be good to plug in there. You saw DeAndre Hopkins post something about the Cardinals, one of the JJ Watt to the Cardinals. The Steelers players have been posting stuff about Watt to Steelers. Bills players, basically every team, everybody wants JJ Watt on their team. So I think the Bills, the Steelers, the Cardinals, the Patriots, I think those are all good destinations for JJ Watt. But I am excited to just see how this progresses, because this is big news. Like, being just available, a player of his caliber, like, that's pretty big. And I think people aren't really like acting like it's that big when it really is. So I'm excited to see how that progresses over the days, and I wonder where he will go. Punching back to the NBA portion for just a quick second, I completely forgot to mention this. The Brooklyn Nets signed Andre Roberson, and I might have said this during the podcast. I thought they should have signed him from day one. Their biggest need is defense, and he's the best defender in free agency, so I thought that was a really good signing for them. And back to NFL. Another guy was released this morning. It was Kawan Short. The Panthers released Kawan Short, wanting to free cap, because they've got what could be a big free agency coming up. They've been one of the teams involved in Deshaun Watson news, and they're gonna get a quarterback. They're gonna get some sort of a quarterback, whether it's in the draft, whether they went for Matthew Stafford. And I think Deshaun Watson, the chances they get him are pretty low, but I mean, it could happen. They are in that realm, and you want to free as much cap as possible. Quan Short is 32. He's battled with injury problems, so not a bad decision to release him. Go in another direction. And what is the market for Kawan Short? I've seen a lot of people talking about the Bills. And yeah, because the Bills had struggled with pass rushing, especially in those big games. They got to Mahomes in the first half in that conference championship. In the second half, Mahomes was just doing it all. And so yeah, he would be good for them, just like JJ Watt would be good for the Bills. And they're gonna be in that. He's going for Kawan Short. His big problem is staying healthy. He's been injured a lot, and he can't really be on the field. The Browns are another destination for Kawan Short, and if he's healthy, he's a menace. He's a very good player. So I hope he's healthy, and I hope he's able to go and have a good season. But yeah, I don't really have much to say. I told you the NFL would be a shorter part. I only had two huge things to talk about. I don't think there's that much big NFL news right now. And I just wanted to talk about some things I saw in this podcast. I didn't think there was a lot of big news in the podcast, but I haven't posted in a while, and I just really wanted to get something out. Show you guys I haven't abandoned this. I just haven't really found the time for it. But I do love doing this. I do love making this podcast. I do love when you guys support it, and I am still advertising it, trying to get it out there as much as I can, trying to get it as popular as I can, because I love it. This is what I want to do. And you guys clicking on it, you guys subscribing, liking, it means so much to me. And even watching the video, even if you click off it after 5 seconds, it means so much to me. So with that said, that is another episode of the Double Trouble podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you are here to this point, I always appreciate you. If you enjoyed, you may want to leave a like. If you have enjoyed and maybe watch some of my other ones, or maybe even consider hitting the subscribe button. This is another episode of the Double Trouble podcast, and I am out.